The WDL News is back to give you the latest on the Wolfey Draft League. If you're watching at home, be warned. While we typically like to keep it light, today's story is a dark one. 6 members of the New York Yankees have gone missing with no trace. When taken in for questioning, this is what Coach Shady had to say.
I'm innocent. You can't prove anything. I didn't do anything wrong.
Well, I for one believe him because that's clearly what an innocent man would say. Wait, hold up. We're currently getting more live updates on Shady. It seems there's evidence of him putting milk before the cereal. You sick bastard. When Commissioner Wolfey was questioned about the missing players, he said,
"Thanks, Joel. As the commissioner of this league, I stand by Coach Shady, and we're going to do our darndest and best job to get replacement players for his beloved New York Yankees." Back to you, Joe.
Thank you, Commissioner. Well, it seems like Commissioner Wolfey has kept his word, because there are now 6 new players on the New York Yankees roster. I asked Coach Uzi for the rundown of the changes.
Thank you, Jamie. The Thunderclap Titans have been gracefully asked to discuss the complexities of the choices behind Mr. Shady Penguin's drops. And let me be the first to say that I stand with Mr. Shady. Because sure, you might not have the best choice of name in terms of being associated with certain dealers, but I'm sure you're not that type of individual and that the Pokemon you dropped are perfectly fine and happy in a park. As far as your changes go, I'm very surprised to see him drop Ursaluna for King Gambit, first of all, because to be completely honest, Ursaluna really did fit well in his team, especially considering the Trick Room offense that he had, paired with, the Tailwind support from some of the other offensive threats that he had. To be honest, King Gambit, while being one of the greatest Pokemon in VGC, due to its insane Dark and Steel typing with, Kowtow Cleave, its stat distribution and everything being so much of a potent threat, is something I'm not as necessarily entirely too sure on at the moment, considering the fact that, he has an Indeedee to set up, Psychic Surges, in which case he's kind of self-goobing himself by blocking his own sucker punches and fake outs or whatever. But hey, he can just choose to not bring Psychic Surge in the first place, which would be certainly a very interesting choice if I do say so myself. Putting that aside, I do think that it is a great Pokemon from, in terms of the typings that it's able to provide, because it gives him the luxury of being able to decide between, a Tailwind mode with, say, no Psychic Surge support, or a Psychic Surge mode where he won't necessarily bring in the King Gambit, but even if he does, that's also fine, because indeed he can set up the Trick Room and his King Gambit can get a lot of big hits off considering its lackluster speed. So it's certainly going to be something I'm going to need to be careful of. But for the other changes, he also dropped his Earthworm for Mudsdale, which is a very interesting choice as well, because while Earthworm is a great Pokemon for, blocking, for giving him a complete immunity to ground type attacks that also, helps this thing being able to recover HP, Mudsdale is fundamentally one of the finer Pokemon in VGC, I would argue, and someone that's grossly underpriced in this league. So it's definitely a steal for him, and it's something that can easily get out of hand considering the fact that it has stamina. And the last time I faced a stamina Pokemon, I didn't have the best luck, okay?
Super bulky, so he's going for it. Let's see if he gets it. Doesn't get the crit, so we're going to be able to knock out Gallade this turn, which is the mon I was so scared about. We get rid of Gallade there. Let's go.
What is a great trade for him, however, is dropping his Fungus for his Thwackey. And let me just be the first to say that Thwackey is a genuine real Pokemon, okay? Don't underestimate it for the fact that it is yet to become a Gorilla Boomer. This thing still has Grassy Surge. This thing can still chuck a Yui. That's Australian for U-turn. Enabled Shady to have a mixed terrain mode, which while does sound very awkward on paper, especially considering that he has a Mudsdale to, goob himself with Earthquake, it still does give him lots of options in terms of what he chooses to bring against me, which definitely is going to make the prep for him much less straightforward. So I think it's definitely a solid prep, change all around. But, as for dropping his Drifloon for his Drifloon, that is, I'm not really sure about that. I suppose he was trying to save a lot of points with some of the changes that he made throughout the season. And, well, Drifloon is 10 times less of a threat than Drifloon is. And lastly, he dropped his Armor Rouge for his Hector Salamanca. And let me just say that this, I feel, is fundamentally and objectively a very, very solid change, because Salamanca is a genuine solid threat in VGC. It can set up Tailwind. It can, get a lot of big hits off with Scarf, dual Wing Beat, Outrage. It can be even special, and it can, even leverage Intimidate if it doesn't end up wanting to be Moxie or whatever have you. And I think that from a threatening standpoint, I think this can easily become one of Shady's biggest threats as far as his team is concerned, because I genuinely am gonna have a hard time playing around this thing. Anyways, I think that pretty much covers up all these trades, so really, there's nothing left for me to say other than thank you for having me, and back to you, Joshua. Wait. You picked up Sneasler, and I dropped Gliscor. Gliscor was drafted in the first place because that's my honest-to-God counter to Sneasler, and nobody drafted this Pokemon, so who needs him anyways? Though it sure looks stupid if someone ended up picking it up afterwards.
Thank you, Coach. I feel like you handled that as best as anybody could. We had another coach make some pretty big changes to their roster. It seems it's not always sunny for the Immunity Idols. Let's take a look what Coach Mount had to say.
Thank you, Doctor. Here I am again, making more transactions. As you may be aware, my team wasn't really feeling it, especially after getting smoked by Uzi. I will admit, I did a poor job drafting. Trick Room, while very viable, even in draft, made my team a little too Trick Room heavy. And then my dream was to have like really strong Trick Room mode, complemented by like a Sun option on my team, and then also have some Tailwind options as well. The Sun component just never really came to fruition. Torkoal, it was just hard with the budget. And like Vileplume as like my main Sun abuser, besides Torkoal itself, it just is not enough. For me, it wasn't enough to justify keeping the Sun mode on the team at all. So got rid of Torkoal, got rid of Vileplume, got rid of Skiploom. So didn't even end up using those last 2 months. They were just on the bench against Wolf, and then now they're gone. Sorry, guys. But so I ended up addressing a few needs of the team. I would say the main 2 things I needed were a reliable physical attacker and some speed. So I picked up Meowscarada, which I think is a pretty excellent mon, at least in singles, but seems like it would be good in doubles too. I got Inteleon, which again addresses some of the speed, gives me like some pledge options because I have 3 starters now. I got the Fire Water Grass starter core with Blaziken in there. Not the reason I picked up Inteleon, but it's just kind of a fun option. And Snipe Shot is just a cool move in doubles, yeah, because it's immune to redirection. So I thought I'd give that guy a try, and then that left me with a couple points left over for Toxapex, which was basically like a niche counter pick to, I'm pretty sure there's like a rain team that I've yet to face. Can't remember which coach has that team, but honestly, they're probably not even gonna watch this, so. Anyway, back to you, Doctor.
Thank you, Coach. What an insane change for your team. We asked Coach James what he thought about this matter.
So Charles Indigo called me at midnight and woke me up from my sleep to ask me about my opinion on Mountai's draft, which includes dropping the Torkoal, Vileplume, and Skiploom for Inteleon, Meowscarada, and Toxapex. And I think Mount has had a bit of a rough time during this draft league and decided to pledge himself to make a difference and maybe do some honest gameplay. Because we all know that Sun and Sleep Powder aren't exactly fun and honest gameplay. And going with the Toxapex, this could be a more toxic relationship that I've seen, like Joe picking up and dropping the Torkoal Sun team he's used in competitive VGC. But we'll see if this is going to be a good fit for him, because he does lose one of his best Trick Room sweepers with Torkoal next to his Oranguru, and of course does lose some speed with the weather control. So we'll see if it works out, but it might have some potential, especially with pledges. But back to you, Crimson Chin. Charles.
Thank you, Clef. Well, there you have it, folks. That's the end of the WDL draft changes. There will be no more this season. How do you feel about everybody's team? Make sure you check out every single coach down below, as battles will be uploaded every Saturday and Sunday. There's also multiple playlists down below featuring weeks 1, 2, and 3 if you missed any of the games. This has been the WDL News, and we'll see you next time. Bro really called me the Crimson Chin. Like, I'll get you, James. Oh, we're still on air?